Handsome devil.
How do you feel right now?
I'm a little bit like in awe. You know, what's funny is I had no idea what was going on, and David wouldn't tell me anything. As I told Gene out there, this is maybe like an odd thing for me, but any gym or arena I've ever been in, I would always study who was up in the rafters, and you know, to have that honor tonight, I'm really at a loss for words.
Had you known they were going to do that, would you have been reluctant to come and have them put your name in the rafters?
No. No, I don't know. I mean, you know, I think from the standpoint, like I said, I'm glad that I didn't know, and you know, I thought they were going to be like a rocking chair or something like that, or golf balls. But you know, to me, and I may be different, but I think that tonight's probably the greatest honor that I've ever received, and at this exact same time, it's probably the most humbling experience that I've ever had in my life. You know, I think when I think back to all the people I've seen in rafters, and you know, to do it at a place where I didn't go to school, quite honestly, it means the world to me.
Were you at all surprised that Chris and his wife, they called to do this so soon? I mean, you haven't even been gone that long.
Yeah, you know, but I'll be honest with you. The one thing I said to myself was, usually I do this when a guy's dead, and at least I get to see it. So I was excited from that standpoint. But you know, I think that the transition has been so smooth, and Chris is doing not only with the coaching, but just running the program and you know, the things that we tried to do when we were here in terms of, bringing back the former players, and you know, what he's done in that regard is I mean, second to none, and just everything that he's doing here. I could not be happier in terms of the fact that he's here, the job that he's doing, and what he's going to continue to do.
Thad, how have you been enjoying your year and a half away?
I was in the Bahamas last week for the battle to Atlantis. But you know, honestly, doing a lot of catch up in terms of you know, I think for me the proudest moment of the night was for my kids and my wife, because you know, all of our jobs takes us away, but I think of all the things that I've missed, and you know, one of my daughters received an award at her school the other night, and I was laughing, saying if I was still working, I wouldn't have been there to see it. And so, you know, just doing some traveling and that sort of thing. And I tell people I'm still unwinding from the 17 years or whatever I was a head coach.
Thad, we know this can be a tough business sometimes. How does it feel that for you and the school that you coached at for so long, like, how would you describe where you are with Ohio State? And I guess this showed where Ohio State is with you. But you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes there's a separation and there's hard feelings.
Right.
Where are you with Ohio State?
I am as completely at peace. You know, it's funny because I always said this when I worked here. I don't know what they do to the students and the fans when they're here, but they inject something in them. And, you know, I found myself rooting so hard last Saturday for Ohio State in the Michigan game. And we don't miss games. Now, basketball is a little bit different. I didn't get to see those guys as much as I wanted to last year. But no, we had a great run here. And, you know, I said that this summer, when you're coaching, you remember the losses. But when you're not coaching, you remember the wins. And you know, I've had, it's funny, in my office in my new house, I've just got pictures up, and you know, just sitting there sometimes and look around, because when you're coaching, you don't have the opportunity to ever stop and smell the roses, because it's always on to the next thing. And I remember in the start of '07 season, after we played for the national championship, we were getting ready to play our first game, and Vince O'Brien came into the locker room, and I'm sitting there, and the team was out warming up, and I said, "Hey, Vince, you realize we just played for the national championship?" He's like, "Yeah." And I said, "I think it's the first time I've thought about it since," because it was just, you were on to the next thing. And so from that perspective with Ohio State, this place, I raised my kids here for the majority of their lives, and 13 years is a long time, and Columbus is such a great city. Ohio State's such a great institution that it's always going to be part of who we are.
How did this all come together tonight? What were the conversations like with you and everyone here at Ohio State in terms of making this moment happen tonight?
Well, Chris had reached out and says, "Hey, we want to come back and honor you." And after I talked to him, I immediately called David Egoff and said, "How much do they want for this honor?" And it just sort of happened, and he said, "You can pick any game you want." And believe it or not, this is like the only game. I got a daughter who's studying abroad next semester, so we couldn't do a Big Ten game. And it worked out well for us in terms of our schedule.
I thought it was probably pretty easy for them to pick the game highlights to show in that video, Sill shot and Evans launch in Indy and stuff like that. I'm just wondering what memories you may have of special moments that just come right to mind with you, maybe that were not even moments on the court. I'm sure you had a few go through your head.
Yeah, Jeff, it's funny because I always get asked the question now, who's your favorite player, your all-time favorite player? And kind of like, what's your all-time favorite memories? And I always say the same thing. There's some guys, I had a friend call me tonight and said, "Hey, my son was playing on one of your former players' teams. He didn't like you." And I said, "Well, what makes you think I liked him?" And but I think that the second year here when we won the Big Ten championship and Ron hit the shot up at Northwestern to clinch a tie. There was a play. I still say my all-time favorite play in my time at Ohio State was when Jaquel Foster against Illinois in that game with 4:30 to go, back tip, ran into the cheerleaders, came back out, back tipped again, jumped on the ball. D. Brown jumped on his back. It was his fourth foul. They had to take him out of the game. One of my all-time favorite memories was when I put Greg Oden in the first time against Valparaiso, and his warm-up got stuck on his cast. He couldn't get it off, and I ran down there and was tugging it off of him. But there's so many, and it would probably blow your mind if we sat down and had a beer and the things that I talked about, you'd be like, I wonder why that was so significant to him, but there was something special about those. So yeah, a lot of just tremendous memories.
I'm going to take you up on the beer.
Okay.
That just might be the same question that Doug asked, but I mean, you're hugging the man who fired you. You're good with Ohio State.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it, and I've said this. Gene still remains one of the best friends I have in life, and I completely understand the nature of the business and completely respect what has to be done. And like I said, if things weren't going well right now, maybe I'd have but I mean, this thing is rolling right now.
If you're unwinding, then you're not interested in getting back.
Right now I don't know. It's funny because I've actually started watching things a little bit more serious this year, but I was at the Butler game and I got beat the other night, and I went back to my room and went to sleep. So I don't know. I'll tell you a great story. A few weeks ago, Butler was home open or a Saturday game, and my college buddies said, "Hey, we're going to meet at a place and we'll watch a little football, and then we'll go to the game." So I go in this place, and these guys are having the time of their lives, and I said, "It's the game's in 5 hours." And I said, "Is this what you guys were doing all those times you would come see me before a game?" And they go, "Yeah, and after." And so I'm seeing a little bit of a different side. Yeah, it's like, and I was going to say this tonight. One thing I never knew they did in college basketball was halftime shows. and I wanted to make sure that they knew I wasn't going to jump off a trampoline or ride a unicycle and spin plates or something like that. But I don't know. You see so much more now. And
why didn't you take that Georgia job?
You know, it just wasn't right. Had a wonderful experience there. Loved the AD, but where I was at the time, it wasn't the right situation for me.
And how do you feel now physically?
I was telling Dan, knock on wood, I wake up every morning and say something has to go wrong because I feel too good. You know,
Wow.
and I told my wife the other night, I said, look, I'm not going to apologize to people for being happy. And so no, I feel really good, and you know, blessed to do what I did, and one of the biggest things is just, you know, continuing to try to get right and all that stuff.
Okay, Laura?
Pat, just how much do you follow the Ohio State men's basketball program these days? And you've got this little fraternity of players who seem to keep in touch. I'm wondering how often you get in touch with them.
You know, it's funny. I follow as close as I can. You know, I didn't see a ton of games last year, but I mean, I always know when they're playing. I can follow the score. You know, and in terms of the players, you know, it's great when the NBA guys come through Indianapolis now, because you know, I've got to see D'Angelo, Evan, and Michael. They've been to town already, and Pacers take great care of me in that regard. But you know, just punching in. You know, it's funny how guys will hit you out of the blue and just need something, advice or whatever it is, and you know, Greg Oden and Mark Titus were over. Barbara started the Kid Again in Indiana now, and so they were at a function there, and they came to the house afterwards. We went, we had dinner, and just so much fun being around those guys.
Do you have